morning. You ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Good. So what we want to talk with you about this morning, and thanks for taking the time in your busy day, is let's talk about the modern cross bike. I've got the Parlee CX in, and noticed immediately how light it is, stiff, responsive, all that stuff. So what I was talking to Ben about is, I review bikes by feel, how I notice immediately what they do. I can tell if I'm going to like a bike usually in about the first 100 meters. And what I notice about that bike is it seems to almost accelerate one by one, meaning as I'm pedaling, that thing continues to move. So what's going on with that bike, layup-wise, schedule-wise, or just some secret sauce to make it as light as it is, also accelerate as well as it does and perform? That's what I'm most curious about, because there's certainly other lightweight carbon bikes out there that are whippy, flexy, and not doing what this bike's doing.
Yeah. Well, my design philosophy, with all the bikes I build, is performance first. The handling characteristics, how the bike is going to ride, how it's going to feel after you've been sitting on it all day, how the bike is going to accelerate, climb, and handle. Clean handling, very responsive handling, but in the sense, you can let go of the bars at 50 miles an hour and the bike still tracks. So all of our bikes have that design concept in it, that it's going to perform, exceptionally well for a guy who is racing or for a guy who is just out riding. But that's a factor of the type of carbon fiber we use, the schedule we use, and diameter of tubes all play a part in that. And then as a consequence, how we design that into the bike is, essentially, the weight that we end up living with on that type of frame. So a bike is designed around performance first, and what weight as a consequence of the design concept.
Right. So you're not weight weenies per se, right out the box.
No, we build carbon fiber bikes and we use materials very well, and we are very precise about how we use our carbon fiber and the layup schedule, and there's a reason for every piece that goes into the frame. So, as a consequence, we get lightweight frames out of it, but we don't sit down and say, I want to build a 650-gram frame. All right, I want to build a 700-gram frame. That's not our criteria. Criteria is performance. And as a result, the performance we get sort of dictates the weight that's going to come out of that frame. So I guess what I have to say is, with the carbon frame that we build, what you're feeling is what you'll feel in just about every frame we build, is that clean, crisp feel to it, that responds, very precisely and very cleanly.
Right, and that's exactly what I noticed. Thanks for explaining that. Also, when I was riding it, it really feels like a road bike adapted to cross. Now, back in the day, we were riding old steel bikes, touring bikes, jungle cross is what it was called. Now we're mostly racing dirt crits, very fast, very responsive. So did you put thought into making a cross bike, or is that really just a road bike with cantilever brakes and some extra room and geometry switches?
No, it's a cross bike. The tube layup and the tube diameters come from our road configuration, but in terms of the frame itself, the geometry, the characteristics of that frame, it was designed and built as a cross bike.
Excellent. Okay, a couple other questions here. I took it out to a race most recently, and a lot of the old dogs of the sport, guys been around for a while, we're all very curious about it, checking out the weight, of course. noticeable. And a lot of the inspection looked down at the bottom bracket, chain stays. What are you doing there? It looks pinched. It obviously isn't because it's carbon. Is that a stress point? Explain to me what's happening there where you're getting that mud clearance. Looks like the tubes are pretty thin. What are you doing there? How are you reinforcing that, making sure that it isn't a point of concern? Obviously, you're addressing mud clearance using tubes there. So what's going on in that point?
Well, the chain stays are built in a mold, so it's a flat molded part. So that when we build it, with that tire clearance in mind. So that because it is, essentially it is pinched, or we can call it a pinched tube, but it's the way the carbon fiber is laid up. The carbon fiber isn't manipulated after the fact. It is molded into that shape.
Okay.
So because of that, because it is, thinner, the tube has the same circumference as a round tube would have there, but it's been kind of ovalized in that area. So we have to look at the layer of carbon fiber differently in that area, so we're going to get the type of performance we want out of it. But yeah, it's a part that's made in a mold, so it's molded to that shape.
Excellent. Now, are you able to do any internal cable routing with the way you manufacture? I'm presuming not. Go ahead.
Well, we are able to do internal cable routing, but we choose not to on a cross bike.
Okay.
I like the idea of it, but it always seems to be problematic. If there's an issue on the, in a race or something.
Right.
So at the moment, we choose to run our cables outside.
Right. Anything else you want to mention about the cross bike today before we close up? I'm sure you got to get back to building bikes.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky. I don't get I tell people how I want them to build bikes. So we get to sit in my office now all day long and read the newspaper.
Yes, you're like the maestro.
Yeah. I just get to point my finger and say, "Do this now."
Right. Well.
It's not true, but yeah, the frames. The frame is built just like we build our other custom frames here in the U.S. We build our own cable stops. We build all our own parts for the bike. So we try to keep that same mindset in our our cross frames as we do in our road frames. So you'll see a lot of similarities there. But
right.
As you mentioned earlier, it is designed to be a cross frame.
Right. Are you sending out or building up BBOS cross bikes now? I noticed that on your site the other day. I don't believe the one I have is BBOS. Are you doing that now too?
Yes, we can do that. Yeah.
Got it. And also, where do you think cross is going with bikes? You're going to see more crit-like bikes. Where do you think the evolution is? I mean, you've certainly seen the changes I have in the time that I've been racing cross. Where do you think it's going? More high-end, lighter, stiffer? What?
Well, I'd have to say yes. Across the board, we're just seeing people being, looking for that performance. And I think with our frame, it is, as I said earlier, really performance-driven frame. So it's, the ride quality that, it's a very comfortable bike to ride, but it accelerates really well, and I think that's what you want in a cross bike. We keep on looking